welcoming Noor Wadi.
جزاكم الله خيرا. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my honor and privilege to be speaking among so many Muslim women, mashallah. Just the fact that this conference is being held, I'm already feeling rejuvenated. And I hope that the poems that I share with y'all today also help you feel just inspired and proud of standing in your truth, proud of being who you are in every space that you show up with. So for my first poem, it is about being in control of my own image. I'm sure every one of you here, whether you wear hijab full-time or just wearing it for the event today, you've heard somebody give an opinion about the scarf. Somebody has something to say to you, whether it's a negative comment, a positive comment, but people have opinions about the hijab. Ultimately, and through this poem you'll hear, the only opinion that really matters is that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am blessed to know that my image is the only person who can control it, or the only entity that can control it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am not subject to the whims of what society thinks womanhood is, of what a man thinks a woman should look like. Nobody but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets to tell me how I dress. And that to me is the ultimate form of strength. And it's something that inspires me to continue to wear hijab day in and day out. Alhamdulillah, this year it'll be 19 years of wearing hijab. And I don't say that to brag, because really all of it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's just, I can't believe it's been that long. Because some days I really don't even notice it. It's just another piece of clothes. I'm rushing to put it on as I get out to work. And then some days it's, I've encountered somebody saying something hateful, and I really notice that I'm wearing the hijab. But alhamdulillah, it's been 19 years of choosing to dress in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 19 years of standing in the truth of my deen, and 19 years of not letting society define what a woman is. And with that, I'll begin my first poem, which is called Barcodes. Thin black lines run the back of my neck. A few digits lined up underneath separate me from the rest. You throw me in your cart and head over to check out what we've done to ourselves. We've built a society that is obsessed with all the wrong things, the way I'm dressed instead of what I'm saying, as if it's a defect in my making to choose this scarf. So then I guess I'm a faulty product to send me back to the manufacturer, back home. 'Cause this is America, baby, land of the free. You have the freedom of choice as long as you choose to be eye candy. We're so sorry you're oppressed. Is this how your dad makes you dress? We're here to liberate you with 2 words, honey. Be yourself. But don't be fat. And also don't be too skinny. No one likes that. Listen, the skin you were born with is fantastic, but tan a little bit and fix your acne. Now grow your hair out. Wait, cut it shorter. Lift your head. Don't flump your shoulders. And remember, your lips are only important if they're colored and glossy. Don't kid yourself thinking that the words that come out of them matter. You don't want people to think that you're bossy. But how are you feeling, honey? Liberated yet? People in their governments have told me to not be ashamed of my body. Feminists marched up to the mosque topless and let their tits do the talking, like, liberate these women from their clothes. No one should have to cover, even if that's what they chose. End quote, and Western feminist pose. For the picture, tomorrow's headline, feminist movement leaves Muslim women bitter. I'm not bitter. Just reminiscing to a time when a woman's beauty wasn't measured on a scale, or defined on page 4 of Vogue, or found in the bottom of a bottle of concealer. Once upon a time when a woman's body was her own. Sometime before Victoria marched on to tell brown women her secret. Spoiler alert, colonization is Victoria's secret to the perfect governing body. Let it be known that I am free in this comfortable way of dress, opposite of oppressed, wrapped in self-respect, making a statement with my words instead of by baring my chest. So you can throw me on your belt, try to label me or make me fit in with the rest, but if you want to check me out, don't be surprised. Scanning my barcode, you will not find a price because my self-worth is invaluable and I was not manufactured for your eyes. Thank you. Jazakumullah khairan. Okay, so that's it for happy poems. The rest are going to be angry. So sorry if you thought we were going in that direction. My next poem is again about identity and about living in America and kind of the things that I faced. And unfortunately, this one is based off of actual conversation and actual harassment that I've faced. So my trigger warning before I get into this poem is that it does involve a death threat that I received walking around the campus of my law school in Austin. It was under like Trump's first rise to president, and at that time people were very much feeling emboldened. So the feelings that they had, the feelings that they've been bottling up and realizing like it's not appropriate to say out loud suddenly became okay again. And so I faced, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to, I'm just trying to get to class. I'm just trying to, finish my degree, and someone decides today's the day they're going to tell me how they feel about me, about my deen, about the fact that I'm wearing the hijab. And so this poem is about that, but I'm hoping that it's not just something where it's like a trauma dump. It's also, you take from it the message to push through, to power through, because we know that our religion, it was born under oppression. It was born under persecution. One of the first things we learn about in the seerah is the way that the Prophet ﷺ had to teach Islam in secret, had to find allies, and at some point had to literally escape from Mecca in order to avoid having all of the Muslims slaughtered or detained and otherwise oppressed. So that is how our deen began, and despite that, it flourished. And here we are today. Just this room alone is a testament to, subhanAllah, the far reach of Islam despite the persecution. And so this poem is to say that what we face today is nothing new. Sadly, you would think that with time, people would learn to embrace difference and we could come together as a human population. But at least take solace in knowing that this isn't new. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us victory in our day-to-day as Muslims in the past, and inshallah we will continue to see ourselves thrive and our deen continue to be among the winners. So this one is called White Lines. Hey raghead, yeah, I said it. Because my constitution told me I should. I can imagine my fingers around your neck under that scarf. I can imagine what your jugular must feel like, warm, pulsing, then no longer pulsing, they say. It's a great day when you don't wake up with chalk lines tracing your curves. But I don't know if that's true. I can imagine your dark eyes even darker when I give detectives a reason to draw those white lines around you. Hey, raghead, what's the problem? Didn't you hear me admire your eyes? Didn't you hear me compliment your curves? I bet no one's wanted to rip your scarf off this badly before, so badly that they would lean out of the car at a stoplight just to tell you. So you're welcome. Dear Professor, I'm sorry I couldn't come to class today. A stranger threatened to murder me on the street. I don't know how you expect me to be excited about a class like the law of evidence when every chapter reminds me that they won't collect evidence if I'm murdered, reminds me the number of times they'll call it misunderstanding, call it parking dispute, call it anomaly. We have no idea how something like this could have happened. Call him lone wolf, family man, honor student. Call this case closed. They don't sell study guides for how to exist between classes, but I imagine that it's easier to study when I can pretend that the ghosts of white supremacists don't live in the pages of my old textbooks, curling themselves around the letters, whispering to me that these white authors never intended for brown skin to have access to their words. Maybe when I crack reality in half and spill myself into the post-racial illusion, maybe then I can finally take a practice exam in peace. Dear Campus Climate Response Team, thank you for your saucer-eyed concern. I'm shocked that your students face these things. What else did you think would happen when this school tucks my tuition into honorariums for those who profit off my oppression? One country's brutal colonizer is another country's distinguished guest speaker. When professors teach about terrorists, except the white ones, when national security classes call Muslim death collateral, it's no wonder these men move on to the practical portion of their studies so quickly. It's no wonder they want to apply what they've learned in the streets, at the mall, in front of mosques, in the Oval Office, haunting every space with their voices, telling foreign to go back home because I remind them too much of the brown girl they were paid to kill in Iraq or to imprison in Afghanistan. These words they inherited from their ancestors conjure missiles in their mouths that fall between us on the sidewalk like another drone strike or a new crusade. But I should be lucky because these words have yet to pour me into the dirt with my sisters. Dear 24-hour news outlet, start your live stream. Watch the Muslim girl try to build a home out of her own ashes. Watch her try to lift her corpse out of bed every morning. Watch her try not to suffocate when she thinks about white lines bordering a lifeless brown body. And isn't that the punchline? How her whole world is a series of white lines drawn to border brown bodies. How because of it, she could never find a home in this country or even above ground. But in spite of it, she refuses to perish. Thank you. Jazakumullah khairan. So, one more poem before I have to leave you guys. And this one is for the amazing mothers of Palestine. As a Palestinian woman myself, you may or may not know that it's against the UN resolution for me to go 30 minutes without mentioning Palestine. And so we are now in compliance with the international law, alhamdulillah. This next poem, when I think about the poem that I just performed, it is difficult and it is hard to power through, but I'm so privileged that no one's ever laid hands on me. No one's ever bombed my home. No one's ever demolished my school. No one's desiccated a hospital that I was going to give birth in. That is an insane amount of privilege that I have as a Palestinian woman, just because my grandma and grandpa fled to the east instead of to the south during the Nakba. And so this poem is a testament to the amazingness that is Ghazan motherhood. And that's not to take away from the incredibleness that is Ghazan fatherhood, Ghazan grandfatherhood. We know, mashallah, Ruh al-Ruh, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise him in Jannah. Every single person in Gaza right now is an inspiration to us for what they persevere through and how they continue to get their message out. But as a mother myself, reading about the cases of women in Gaza who had to undergo C-sections without anesthesia because of how bad the situation was there. As a mother who had C-sections herself, thinking what that would be like is a horror in itself. And so that's why this poem specifically focuses on Ghazan motherhood, and inshallah, it inspires us to not stop talking about them, because I know living in the West, we think, what can we do? Our country's so entrenched in supporting oppression and supporting Israel. But I think that we know that what we're saying on social media to each other, to our representatives, is making a difference, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be pushing so hard to shut down TikTok, to shut down, to filter out what we're posting on social media, to shadow ban words about Palestine. Clearly it's making a difference, so please don't let anyone stop you from pushing forward when you know you're on the truth. So this one's a little bit shorter, and it's about Gaza mothers. Bismillah. فإن الجنة تحت رجليها. The Prophet ﷺ says, indeed, heaven lies beneath the feet of every mother. That is to say, God creates souls from flesh and heaven from souls. So when Ghazan mothers strike their heels, they take paradise and march through hell. Ghazan mothers are showered with Israeli leaflets demanding they surrender the terrorists in their wombs. Israel wants a sonogram of every tunnel in Gaza. Israel crushed the resistance riding out of Ghazan NICUs, and analysts might call that a surgical strike. Ghazan mothers are carved without anesthesia, also a surgical strike. Ghazan mothers labor in hospital remains as the angel of death cuts the umbilical cord. Ghazan mothers read their children's names on limbs pulled from the rubble. Ghazan mothers are given white kefan as swaddles and forced to tuck their babies under a blanket of soil to rest goodnight kisses on cold, closed eyes. But Ghazan mothers are Israel's worst nightmare, the reason they cannot erase us, growing like mint. Shatle wara shatle, Palestinians refuse to wither, refuse to lose the gardens under their feet. Ghazan mothers spread Aden everywhere they go. That is to say, their martyred babies are just a step away. The olive birds at the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, waiting to crown their mothers as queens eternal in the heavens above a free Palestine. Jazakumullahu khairan so much for your time and your attention. And may Allah reward you all for being here today, and reward the Ikhwan ladies for putting together something amazing.